This happened back in the early days of my childhood. I was maybe 12 years old at the time, living just outside of a major city in Australia. It was Christmas Eve, and unlike other countries who have their white Christmas, Australia's Christmas is smack bang in the middle of summer. So the last place that you want to be is indoors, unless for some reason your house has an air conditioner, which 90% of households do not. Since it was at Christmas time, school kids were on school holidays, so I invited a friend over and convinced my dad to drive us to a swimming pool complex. It's a pretty large place with cheapish food and a huge water slide. So naturally, we were pretty content staying the entire day there, spending our parents' money and enjoying the cool water. It started getting later in the day and we were told that we had to go soon. We begged and pleaded to stay a little while longer, which led to a compromise that we would have to walk home if we didn't want to leave now, which we had actually done a couple of times before, since the pool complex wasn't too far from my house. We agreed and said that we would be home soon. It didn't actually take us too long before we wanted to leave, since the sun was setting and the pool was getting a bit too cold for comfort. We placed towels around our dripping bodies, waved goodbye to the staff at the entrance to the pool, and began the trek home. It usually didn't take us all too long to get home, but today my friend had the brilliant idea to take a shortcut, which in turn actually ended up taking us twice the amount of time to get anywhere near my house. He then joked, saying, "At least we know for next time." I called him an idiot and said that we better be home by dark. So, we were now getting really close to my house, and it was in fact dark out by this time. My phone was dead, so I was trying to speed walk as fast as I could, as I knew my parents would be wondering where we were. This shortcut that we were on took us through some very dark and isolated streets. The suburban roads were narrow with streetlights stretched apart, leaving long dim spaces of darkness. This was when we heard a car pull into our street. It was about 100 meters behind us. As it got closer to one of these streetlights, we could see that it was a rusty blue van, and wait for it, covered in Christmas decorations. We immediately laughed and exchanged peculiar glances. Our faces turned to a more perturbed nature when the van started slowing down as it approached us. We heard a husky voice call out to us. I didn't quite hear what it said, but he was clearly trying to get our attention, and he definitely had it. We finally got a look at this guy, and wow, the smell was the first thing to hit our senses. Try to imagine rotten bananas mixed with a heavy scent of alcohol. I don't know why I said bananas, but that's honestly what it smelled like. He was wearing a Santa hat and asked us if we had been good this year. And then he reached into the back of his van and pulled out a red box that had been wrapped like a Christmas present. He then gestured for us to come closer. We said that we really needed to be going as our parents would be wondering where we were. He then pulled the greasiest smile I've ever seen and offered to give us a lift back to our house and not to his torture chamber. This guy must have been pretty intoxicated to think that this was going to work on us. We said no thank you, as our house was only a few blocks over, and we sped up our pace. We thought this would make the guy go away, but he slowly cruised on the right side of us, trying to persuade us to get into his van, saying that he had loads of presents in the back that he doesn't know what to do with. My friend started getting a little impatient and told the guy that we didn't want his greasy presents. This seemed to make him upset, and he told us that we would be on Santa's naughty list. He then drove 10 meters in front of us, swung his passenger door open, and said, "Look, the present is on the seat. If you take it, I won't mind." We were now staying as far away from this guy's van as possible. staying off the path and onto people's lawns as we were walking. When we had reached the point where we had been walking past the van, I kid you not, we heard someone sneeze from the back of the van. My eyes locked onto his and I pulled out my phone and said that I was calling the police. He spat on the ground in front of us and sped off down the road. We then bolted down a side route I knew took me directly to my house. Our adrenaline kept us fueled enough to run all the way home. When we got to my driveway, we agreed not to tell my parents as they wouldn't let us go out again at night if they knew what had happened. I kind of wanted to tell them, but my friend insisted that we should just keep quiet and never take that shortcut again. We never saw the man again, and I hope no one fell for those presents he was offering. I work at a beauty store, and today, an older man with a white beard came in. I greeted him and asked him if there was anything that I could help him with. He stuck his hand out and said, "Hi, I'm Santa Claus." I go to shake his hand and I laugh uncomfortably. As I try to pull my hand away, he stops shaking my hand and just holds it, and proceeds to tell me about how he's popular in the next town over as a Santa Claus, and how their local beauty store knows him very well. He held my hand for a solid 2 minutes as he told me about his stories of being Saint Nick. He finally let me go after I tried pulling away several times, and then finally asked me where the colored hairspray was, so that he could make his beard appear whiter. After helping him, I took him to the register to ring him up, and as I tell him his total, he hands me a card with a picture of Santa Claus on it that said, "Happy Holidays" on it. I take it and say thank you, and then he pulls out another card but keeps it face down. He then says, "Now this one is my pride and joy. When I give this to you, I want you to keep it for yourself and not show anyone. Not your husband or your boyfriend. Nobody." I was so uncomfortable that all I wanted was for this man to leave the store. He made me promise that I wouldn't show another soul, which made me even more uncomfortable. I nervously take the card in hopes that he would leave sooner. I quickly turn the card over and glance at it. I'm thankful that it was just a picture of a wax bottle that said Pride, and a dish cleaning bottle that said Joy. The jokes seemed like innocent dad jokes until what he said next. He then proceeded to ask me how long I'd been working there, what days I work and what my hours were. I just answered by saying that I'm not sure over and over again, since I find those things to be personal information. He then asked me how many other girls work at the store. I told him that I didn't know. As I had told him his total for the third time, he finally hands me the money. As I give him his receipt and his items, he then asks me if I'm married. I tell him no, but that I do have a boyfriend, and he says to me, "You should just stay single. That way, you would be able to please every man." I look at him with disgust and I tell him, "Okay, sir, you have a nice day." And then he looks me in the eyes and says to me, "You stay safe out there. I'm serious." And then walks out the door. Dear Mr. Santa Claus, the only person that I need to stay safe from is you. I'm a longtime lurker of this thread. I can't sleep, so I thought I would share a story that happened to me about a year ago. For backstory, I'm a 30-year-old female on the petite side. I live on the East Coast, where the sunrise isn't until 6:30 or 7 in the wintertime. I worked opening shifts at Starbucks as a manager, and on these particular shifts, I picked up the girl that I opened with, because she lived close to the store and didn't have a car. This takes place at around 4:30 a.m. and it's very dark. I'm driving down an empty main road, and decently close to the girls' apartment complex when an old, kinda beat up forest green sedan seemingly comes out of nowhere and is behind me. We are the only cars on the road. I turn on my blinker to turn out a light on the way to the complex, which is in a very dark area of town behind a bunch of offices and developments. I'm about 5 minutes away. The first red flag for me is how quickly the car turns on their blinker after I do. They start speeding up a bit. I speed up and they match my speed. I get a bad feeling, so I figured I would take an unexpected turn to lose them and circle back. As soon as my blinker turns on, so does theirs. Any turn I take, they are taking as well. I'm freaking out after a few minutes of trying to lose them, so I pull into a nursing home parking lot assuming that they'll give up. Well, so do they with no turn signal. Mind you, because they weren't expecting it and they park across from me. I see the driver, and it's a woman, probably in her 50s, with a small white dog. She looks slightly unkempt, but not crazy or out of it, just like a dumpy, middle-aged woman. She rolls down her window, so I roll down mine and ask, "Is everything okay?" To which she replies in kind of a mumble, "I thought you were my friend. She has the same kind of car," or something along those lines. I've never seen her before, so I say, "Okay, I'm not, but no problem, have a good day," or whatever. Weird, but okay, fine. So I shrug it off and I go on my way. I wasn't too shaken up. If it had been a man, I would have straight up called 911 immediately. As I leave the parking lot, the woman started to follow me again. I'm close to the girls' complex, on some very dark roads, and I'm freaking out. But I figure she's obviously not quite right, and she wouldn't pull into a big apartment complex's parking lot. Well, I was wrong. I'm at a stop sign right before the entrance, crazy lady behind me and all, when I noticed a red fox scurry by. This is only important because I strongly believe in signs from the universe. So, it was a weird coincidence that I see my favorite animal in this moment of terror. I pull into the complex parking lot, and the crazy lady parks next to me. We're just sitting there for a moment, neither of us looking at each other. I lock my doors and roll down my passenger side window halfway, finger on the button in case anything gets weird. She rolls down her driver's side window, and I ask straightforwardly, "Why are you following me?" She then replies, "I'm following you," and then repeats what she had said to me at the last parking lot, that she thought I was her friend. It was very strange, almost scripted. Now I'm feeling very uneasy, because it is extremely obvious that she had been, and I know it's smart to mention that I'm meeting someone. So I say, "Well, I'm clearly not, and I'm here to pick up a friend, so I'm not sure what to tell you." I roll up my windows and she watches me take out my phone and call my employee, and to whom I say, "Come down this second," and she leaves immediately once I'm on the phone. My employee rushes down and I explain what happened, and we both agree that it is creepy as hell. As we pull out of the complex's entrance, the red fox runs in front of my car, causing me to slam on my brakes and stop, and then it runs off into some woods on the side of the road. I have never forgotten this morning ever. And so, crazy lady with a little white dog, let's not meet again. This happened to my very close family friends on Christmas Day a few years ago. I used to babysit for this family starting at around age 12, and I later housed and dog sat for them months at a time all throughout my 20s. This story is particularly creepy for me because I have spent a ton of time alone at their house. So, this family is going on a stereotypical Christmas Day evening in the family home. It's winter and so it's dark very early. It's a drizzly, wet, foggy night outside. It's a large family and all the kids are all grown, in their 20s and 30s, most with jobs out of state. But everyone has come home to be together for the holidays. Siblings are busy playing with their Christmas loot. TVs are all on. Christmas music is playing. Food is being cooked and eaten. And there's a lot of laughing and talking. This goes on for many hours. The youngest daughter spots her dad standing in the middle of the courtyard outside in a black hooded sweatshirt. The hood is over his head, so just his mouth and chin are visible, and he's just looking in at the house. She casually calls over to her mom, who's in the kitchen, to go check on Dad because it seems like he needs help with something in the yard. Except Mom says that Dad is in the bedroom taking a nap. Mom and the sister quickly come to the realization that there is a creepy total stranger in a black hoodie, just staring in at them, not moving, on Christmas Day evening. As you can imagine, the family collectively poops enough bricks to build another chimney for Santa. They proceed to alert everyone in the house, run around checking the locks on the many sliding glass doors and windows, and they wake up Dad. In the meantime, Black Hoodie Creep can see everyone's movements because the house is pretty much completely glass window walls. This guy continues to just stand there in an intentionally creepy, Jason-like pose and not moving. Except now he has a sinister smile on his face. It's obvious that he is enjoying being caught. At first, if the family thinks that it might be a practical joke, the family members start to call out things to intimidate him like, "If this is a joke, it's not funny. We already called the cops. We have a gun." But the guy just keeps standing there, smiling and not moving for a long time. And then suddenly, he rushes up to the glass and starts pounding on it, not saying a word, his face still obscured by the hood. Obviously, he's intentionally trying to scare everyone, if not to break into the house, and now the family really does call the cops. After pounding on the glass for a good while, he runs and hops the fence near the home's trash cans and heads to the neighbors' yards. The neighbors are also good friends, so the family calls them to let them know what is happening, but they never see the Black Hoodie Man. The cops arrive within minutes, take these statements, check all the neighboring houses, but they never find this guy. Not long after, the family had their courtyard area completely remodeled, including a new security and light system. The scariest bit of the story for me is that they had no idea how long this guy was just standing there, watching them enjoy their Christmas. Some bonus details as well. The home where this took place is in a quiet, upper-class neighborhood. It's a square home with an interior square courtyard situated on the edge of a steep hill, with a busy 6-lane road below. It can be very difficult to climb this hill, and scale the back wall to access the back porch area, and even harder to escape down without falling into the traffic below. It would also be hard to exit the neighborhood, unless climbing through people's yards, without being spotted by the cops. The home is angled in such a way that the wind blows right through it, causing creaks and drafty sounds on even mildly windy days. A rustle or a crunch sound would most likely be ignored. The home's layout is similar to many traditional Japanese homes, with sliding doors attached to each section of the house, leading to the square middle courtyard. Except rather than wooden panels or screens, this home is all sliding glass window hallways. If someone is in the central courtyard at night, it is very easy to see into all areas of the house without being seen due to the reflection of the lights inside. However, the courtyard does not have some dull footway lighting. The home is beautiful, but they have some creepy art, including stone statues of children playing in the courtyard, and a collection of cringe clown art that was so popular in the 80s. Also, their senior dog used to growl intently at empty hallways in the middle of the night, It probably was just blind or deaf, but it's still freaky. I was often unnerved while house sitting for them, even before this happened. The home has a floor-to-roof iron front gate, impossible to climb over, and a wooden gate, which is possible to climb, leading to the trash can and storage adjacent to the neighbor's wooden fence. These are the only access points to the central courtyard. My conclusion to all of this: A. This guy was a crazy ex or old high school friend playing a prank on one of the now adult kids. But years had passed and it was never revealed, so this seems unlikely. B. This guy had some mental problems and or was possibly a peeping Tom type of pervert and was just having an episode. C. This was a Home Alone type situation where some guy was squatting in nice homes, counting on the fact that people won't be home for the holidays, and he possibly decided to have some fun with his family once he was spotted. I seriously doubt this single guy was planning to actually take on a family of 6+ adults. I haven't stayed alone in the house since, as the dog that I used to watch passed away some time ago. I would love to hear your thoughts or reactions to all of this.